In previous episodes, we've met practitioners of alternative healing modalities, including yoga, the emotion code, archangelic light, and more. Tonight, we meet a holistic medicine practitioner who offers some very interesting services. Welcome to the PEEP Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Maroc, and on this episode, I'll introduce you to Tasha Maria Soto, a holistic medicine practitioner based in Raleigh, North Carolina. But first, I want to say thank you and give a shout out to my Canadian listeners. Next to my home country, you hold the second largest share of my audience, and I love you for it. It's awesome to have you with us. Before introducing you to Tasha, I want to remind everyone that if you feel you need medical attention or require a medical diagnosis, seek the advice of a licensed physician. Naturopathy and alternative medicine and healing modalities are meant to be complementary to modern medicine. In our conversation, Tasha and I discussed how a holistic practitioner might be able to help when Western medicine falls short of explaining and correcting the cause of symptoms, and how some practices, such as mindful eating and relaxation techniques, can be ways to avoid sickness and disease in the first place. So as always, I ask you to listen with an open mind and use common sense. Tasha Maria Soto was born in New York and moved to Puerto Rico at a young age, where she embraced the island's cultural life and traditions. She treasures vivid memories of her parents, grandparents, and neighbors using natural remedies to treat illnesses, leading her to develop a strong interest in herbal remedies and cures at an early age. As an adult, she developed some health issues. And, well, I'll let her tell you the rest. Let's dive in with Tasha. Hi, Tasha. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good, thanks. Hope you are.
I am. I'm so grateful that you took the time out of your schedule to sit with me and answer some questions and share a little bit about yourself. I'm really excited for this opportunity.
Thanks, me too. Appreciate it.
First off, I want to start by asking, what is your background story and how did you get interested in naturopathy?
All right, so really long story short, I was in the insurance industry for, I want to say over 19 years. At the end, I was managing my own office. I had a few other offices that I had partners with. The stress level was, I guess, getting to me on a physical level. At that point, I decided that I needed to seek out doctor's help because I was having symptoms that I couldn't describe, or I couldn't put a finger on exactly like what was going on with me. But when I would go to my doctor, and this happened for like a period of 2 years, I felt like I wasn't being seen. I felt like they were just trying to say that I had generalized anxiety and I was depressed. And I would always agree with them. I probably have anxiety due to the stress, but I'm not depressed. I think a person knows when they're depressed, and that wasn't my case. So I started digging online with, Dr. Google, and some of my symptoms started coming up a lot. Like it could be a hormonal imbalancement, it could be your thyroid, it could be this, it could be that. So I started looking for a naturopathic doctor in my area. And sure enough, when I went to see her, we did a whole lot of testing. And, normally insurance doesn't cover naturopathic practitioners and doctors. So this is all out of pocket. But to me, it was so very worth it, because when the results got back, she's like, wow, it's a miracle you're not dragging yourself on the floor. I don't know how you're doing it. So came to find out I had a few conditions going on. I don't know if you want to say that stress caused them to happen, or life circumstances, or I think at this point in my life, I'm also starting to realize that trauma plays a big role in a lot of our diseases nowadays.
Yeah.
So she was able to treat me naturally, and that got the fire lit in me, like I say, to understand how she was helping me. And it was all done naturally, and it was also done by my diet, which I don't think I had a bad diet, but certain things were eliminated because for me, they were triggers, like gluten and lactose.
Okay.
So it was small changes that I like to call lifestyle changes, not a diet. And those were the changes that helped me start changing my life around. And that got me interested in everything natural. Anything I could get my hands on, I would read. And then I decided, well, let me start studying this. So in 2016, I did my first learning, like I call it. It was the simple one, aromatherapy.
Yeah.
And then I kind of grew from there. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. And in 2017, I started studying. I started with naturopathy. And then I went on to do the iridology. And then I've done a bunch of other stuff since then. And one of my next undertaking is to be a colon hydrotherapist, because the more and more clients I see, the more and more I realize the gut is the one that runs everything. And most of the issues nowadays are because of the diet that most people have are caused because of this, what I like to call the immune system in the gut.
Yeah. That's a really interesting thought, because this is a conversation that my boyfriend and I have on a regular basis, because both of us have had our gallbladders out. I just had an emergency appendectomy, and it's all gut related. Mm-hmm. And you don't hear, and maybe it's just not in the history books, but you don't hear about a lot of these issues happening, 100 years ago, when people were eating more natural foods. Right. So we wonder if the processed foods are part of the problem that we're facing right now.
Yeah, I really do believe it is. And I believe it's the genetically modified foods. Our body doesn't know what to do with them. Mm-hmm. And therefore, what the body does is it causes inflammation to protect itself. There's so many of us that are inflamed that we take it as regular body aches and pains because we think it's due to age, and it's actually not. It's just inflammation.
It's also fascinating.
Right.
But okay, so you said first you started learning about naturopathy. Mm-hmm. And next was iridology. And I apologize if I say any of these words wrong, because many of them are very new to me.
Some people say iridology, some people say iridology. It just depends, like tomato.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So how does that work?
So basically, I want to say it was a Hungarian doctor that when he was young, I'm going to give you the backstory. Okay. That way people kind of get an understanding of it. So I guess he was, with a little bow, he was trying to shoot animals. So he shot down a little owl. And when he went to go pick up the little owl, he noticed that, I want to say it was the little owl's wing. It was damaged, but he noticed that a mark in the eye started growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So he took the little owl and he nursed it, and he noticed that as the little owl was healing, that spot was closing up. So long story short, that always stayed in the back of his mind. And then when he became older, he started studying medicine. So he was very interested in the eye. So he started mapping out the eye, and he would look at different people, like what conditions they might have had and how it was reflecting in the eye. So then a more modern approach to it was brought into our society, where the whole eye was mapped out. So the left side corresponds to the left side of the body, and your right eye to the right side. It's not that we're able to diagnose a disease, but you're able to talk about the person's constitution. You are able to see markings. They're called lacunas, furrows, spots, and it just depends on where they're at. You're able to see stress rings in the person. So, like, one of the first things I can see, if they have a strong constitution, if they have a weak one, by how close certain threads in the eyes are, or like I guess you would say bicycle spokes.
Okay.
How the threads of the eye. I don't know if you ever looked at an eye, but it'll have like lines in it. So we start looking, and then you can also see if the person has what we call a cholesterol ring, which is obviously it's the cholesterol, a lymphatic rosary, meaning their lymphatic system is backed up. So there's a lot that you could see through the eye. They're coming to realize more and more that some of it is actually generational, and it could go down to you. So it's not necessarily that you have that, but hey, look out, you have this spot on your liver. What I see nowadays over and over and over again is colon issues. I cannot say that enough. And when I ask the people, I think people have learned to live with pain, stomach pain in particular, or they think it's normal to always belch after eating. I mean, I know some cultures consider it like, oh yeah, you liked my food, but this is not the case at all. It's no, something that you ate is causing you to get bloated. Therefore, it's an offender for you. Or maybe it's not that it's always going to be an offender, or that it always was, but right now at this point it is. And then when I start digging, the people are like, oh yeah, now that you mentioned that, yeah, that's right. So like, you could also probably say when you see certain things, it's inflammation in a certain part. Like, I'm going to use my cousin's example. When he came to me, I don't think he was a believer. Mm-hmm. And then started talking about certain things. And I told him, I said, so I see on your left eye that your knee area has a spot over it. His eyes got huge. And he's like, oh my God, I've been having such bad knee pain, but I haven't told you that. I'm like, no, you don't have to. Your eye just told me. So it's pretty interesting. And I just use it like something to get us going, like an inside look on the person, of the inside going on. And, we'll do other stuff when I do an intake with them, like look at their nails, their tongue, their skin. Mm-hmm. And it just tells you of the overall condition besides their symptoms.
What can you tell by a person's nails?
So, the nails could have ridges. That's normally an iron deficiency. If they're missing like that little half circle moon at the bottom, that's another deficiency. Now you will get some people that'll get like a large line in through their nails. That's normally a liver condition. So, but the one that you can also tell a lot through is the tongue, actually.
So what can you tell?
Chinese medicine is big into that. So like if a person has like a big white coating on their tongue, that means that they're having issues with digestion, and also like a candida or yeast issue. Yeah, there's a lot of things, purple tongue, cardio issues. I'll see people with dark spots on their tongue, and it's like they haven't realized that they particularly have them. Sometimes that has to do with medication that they're taking, that it's kind of toxic for them. It just all depends. Everybody's situation is different, but the main goal, I would say, is to get to the root cause. I don't want to say that I'm going to put a Band-Aid, or, just take this is going to alleviate your system. No, you want to figure out what exactly is going on. Sometimes you can pinpoint it directly, but you'll be able to narrow it down to 2 or 3 things. And normally those 2 or 3 things are because the symptoms are overlapping. But most of the time, you're going to treat it naturally the same way, which is going to be through diet, lifestyle changes, and certain supplements. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you have so many different services and modalities that you offer, and like I said, many of them I have not heard of before. So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you about a few of them.
Sure.
Okay. I think, well, here's one that sounds very interesting to me with a background in sound and uh, tuning fork therapy.
Right.
How does that work?
Okay. So I think most of us now, this day and age, realize that we're all energy. So sometimes, like I mentioned earlier, traumas. Sometimes traumas or stressful situation could get us in that fight, flight, or freeze mode. Well, sometimes when we're in that fight or freeze mode, our energetic system gets stuck. Or sometimes we've had a traumatic event and it stays stuck in our body. So therefore, being that we're energy, with the tuning forks, what you're doing is you're recentering that person's energy, you're making it flow again. So like they have different megahertz, gigahertz of tuning forks. And it just depends after you talk to the client, where you perceive. Also, because it comes, I think if you don't have it before you get into these type of therapies, you certainly develop it. You develop an intuition. And you sort of start, not that you feel what the client's feeling, but when they start explaining to you, know what part of the body that's associated with, or what part of the body could cause that stuck emotion. So then you will go ahead and you'll start doing the tuning fork therapy. Sometimes I'll use that therapy in conjunction with Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something about Reiki. It's like a lot of people, they're confused about it, but then when you explain it, my best explanation is Reiki is a massage to your soul and to your mind. And then when you add the tuning forks in at the end, the person wakes up feeling like, oh my God, I feel so light. I just feel like I can breathe. So tuning forks are very, very interesting.
That is absolutely fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's getting your frequencies back in order, the order they're supposed to be in.
You just totally sparked my interest in that one. That's awesome. And I would never think to combine it with Reiki, but I'm still new to all this. So that explains a lot. Mm-hmm. Okay. How about I'm going to say this wrong. Migun thermal massage?
The Migun. Yes.
Migun. Okay.
Yes, that table is great. And I say that it's like the quickie table, because if a person only has 30 minutes, they could come in for 30 minutes, lay on the table. So basically the table has jade rollers in it. And those jade rollers let out heat and also infrared light. So it has different settings. I think the setting that I use the most on people would be the one that it not only massages you, but it hits your acupressure points.
Okay.
So as it's massaging you, it's rolling out the kinks in your back, your legs, your neck, your head, and it's letting out that delicious heat. Plus it also has, so like, let's just say you come to me, you have a lot of intestinal issues. I have an accessory part that actually goes on your abdomen, and we put that over the blanket, so that'll lower inflammation in your intestines, because that's the purpose of the infrared lights, to penetrate and to lower the inflammation in the body.
Okay.
And most of the time when I put the person on that table, I go outside, I take care of emails, and maybe 5 or 10 minutes in, I hear snoring. And I always will ask the person, do you have more than just 30 minutes? If they have 40 minutes, I'll put it on the 30 minutes. And I'm like, okay, if you wake up, call me. If not, I'll come in an extra 10 minutes later, because a lot of people are sleep deprived. They didn't only need the massage, but they needed that extra nap.
I think I can relate to that.
Yeah, I think half of the population could.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So I have a question. You did say that you develop an intuition doing this. And one of my questions that I was going to ask is, do you feel like you're an intuitive? But additionally, and along those lines, if somebody comes in and says, okay, I know I have inflammation issues, I'm having maybe sciatica pain or lower back pain or this, chronic headaches or just any number of things. Um, how do you decide which therapy is going to work best for them? Or do you just let them come in and say, hey, I saw this on your site, I want to give it a try?
I will let them say that because some people like to run the show and you kind of got to let them. But you also get a feel. That's where the intuition comes from. And you'll get a feel, am I feeling that this person is going to let me guide them? So I'll ask questions like, so when did you notice it? Well, what else do you got going on? Normally, if they tell me what else they got going on, then I could sort of realize, okay, yeah, this might be helpful. Or I'll say like, well, I mean, I know that would probably help you, but I would like to see if you would try this out also in conjunction with it. I think a lot of people just need talk therapy, and they need to feel heard, and they need to be seen also. And that's just not happening at the regular doctor's office. And I hate to say it, but I experienced it myself over and over and over again. They have a quota and they have to have you in by a certain time and have you out. And, they're there. I hate to say it, but, they're there to treat you with pharma,
Right.
because that's what they were trained with. I mean, traditional doctors, most of them don't have more than 8 hours of nutrition. And, ancient societies knew that most of our nutrition and our well-being was going to come from the food. But, the Industrial Revolution happened, and then we kind of started forgetting about how all the natural stuff was what kept us alive for all these years.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of a shame. Of all of the different therapies that you offer, which one is your favorite?
I would have to say the iridology, and I would also say helping people detox. People nowadays have a lot of toxins, because I love the calls or the emails that I'll get, like either the next day or like, oh, I slept like a baby after that detox session. Or, wow, I can't believe how much lighter, even my mind feels lighter. But I think it's like everything else. They'll come in for a detox, but I'm going to talk to them. I'm like, so what else is going on? That type of stuff. I mean, I don't want to nickel and dime the people because I know how I felt when I was going through my own situation. So I feel like, okay, if I could give them some free advice, I'm also going to give it to them because I know that that's what they need. And that's how they're going to refer more people to me. Like, hey, I met this lady, I mean, I love the service that she gave me, but I feel like she understood me, and that's where I think the calling comes from. The calling comes from being a server and wanting to serve, and truly wanting to see people get healthier and for them to realize that they're actually part of it. That here's how I try to explain it to them. You didn't get sick overnight. Most of the time they just want that little pill that they were promised was going to take care of everything.
Right.
And it's the fast way. So it's like I tell them, well, you didn't get sick overnight. So don't expect that the D3 is going to kick in a week. No, it needs time to build up in your system. If your lab report's showing that you're severely depleted, give it a chance. And normally around week 3, I get that email or that call. Oh, wow, I feel so much better. I don't feel like I'm dragging on the floor anymore, or my constant anxiety or teeth grinding at night, it's gone away. It's just small little changes that'll do it, and the person wanting to be part of their own health, of getting back to their original state.
Yeah. And that's when we remove the blockages to getting back to that original state, is that's really the goal, right? So that the body can start to heal itself.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I have on my website, it's mind, body, and soul. I know a lot of people use that, but when you really, really look at the terminology, it's like really they do. They are so intertwined that you can't have one without the other. You know, like when you look at people who, I mean, we all have our stuff. I still have my stuff. Most of my clients still have their stuff. But when you look at people who seem to be living healthy lifestyles, the one thing that they have in common is that they watch what they eat. Sure, they have cheat days and they eat things that they like. You know, they don't deprive themselves either all the time, but they have routines. Either they meditate, even if it's 5 minutes in the morning, or they do yoga, or they do Tai Chi. And it's like I always tell everybody, you need to learn to fill your cup, because how are you going to keep giving to others? And I'm not saying that men don't do a lot, but especially moms, because the ones who I get that are chronically fatigued are especially moms, because not only are they dealing with the household, the children, but they're also working a job. And that takes a big toll. And I constantly tell them, you have to learn to fill your own cup. If the kids don't wake up into this time, you're going to have to get up 15 minutes earlier to get in that 10-minute meditation. So it's like we have to learn to tweak our time schedule a little bit just to be able to take care of ourselves, to be able to function. You know, that's I think the whole gist of it. And people like me and other practitioners, we're there to guide them. I consider myself a guide.
Yeah. So you have an office in Raleigh, North Carolina, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Do you do anything virtually? So if I have, because I have listeners kind of all over the world, do you do consultations or anything like that virtually?
Yes, I could do virtual consultations. And in a lot of cases, if the person has a good phone, I can actually do the iridology examination that way.
Oh, wow.
They would have to take very good pictures. I would approve them, and then they email them to me. And then I'm able to use my iridology software to upload them to the system.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Okay. For the listeners, I am going to put the link to Salud naturalwellnesscenter.com in the show notes. So you don't have to remember that. All you have to do is look at the show notes and tap on the link, and it'll take you straight to Tasha's website. Tasha, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about? Anything new? Well, like you did say you were going to start studying.
Yes, I'm going to
What was
start
it called?
colon hydrotherapy.
Okay.
So another word for it would be colonics. I basically decided that I'm willing to take on this endeavor. So it is going to be time consuming, but I do believe that it's going to be able to help me help people better, because what that'll do is it'll take the toxic overload out from their system, and they can start their healing process a whole lot quicker. When it comes to changing their diet, you know, okay, let's just say, okay, well, you got your colon cleanse, now you have a clean slate, start eating healthy, you know.
Right.
So I just think that it's going to be very beneficial for a lot of people. And once I am trained, because I will have to do some training also. I was fortunate enough to find somebody who was my colon hydrotherapist, who's also serving as a mentor for me.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So people come to us at different points of our lives, and they're there to guide us and help us along the way. And I hope that one day I'll be able to do that for someone else, like she's doing that for me now.
I totally understand that. Just it's so exciting to be able to learn and then later be able to turn around and pay it forward and help others.
Yep. It's the best.
Yeah.
I could say I've had a few of those in my life, and I'm totally grateful for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, I will put a link to your website in the show notes. And I am so grateful again that you took the time to have this conversation with me.
Thanks, Nicole. And I'm glad that you gave me the opportunity to speak. And hopefully through this conversation, somebody will get that little light bulb in their head turning on and saying like, oh, I could relate to that. Maybe I need to try something like this. And hopefully somebody will also be able to figure out, hey, wait a minute, that's something that happens to me, like, hey, maybe I need to go get this tested or something. So
Yeah.
synchronicities.
Very true. Yeah. And thanks again.
Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks again to Tasha for sharing her story, and thank you for listening. Remember, if you want to get in touch with Tasha, just click on the web link in the show notes. If you're interested in sharing your own paranormal experiences, please use the contact form at peeppodcast.com to get in touch. That's PEEP podcast.com. Remember, that stands for People Experiencing Everyday Paranormal. You can keep up with the show on its Facebook page, facebook.com/peeppodcast. We have a group linked from that page in case you're interested in joining the conversation. One thing to note about that group is I only approve group members who answer the questions. And unfortunately, Facebook does not keep a list of people who'd be interested in sharing their experiences on the show. So if you said yes to that question, please get in touch through the website. If you enjoy the podcast, please give it some rating love on your favorite podcast app, share it with friends, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Doing so will help the podcast be found by others. A huge thank you to everyone who has given the show some love. I truly appreciate it. No matter how you support the show, listening, telling others about it, or any other way, I absolutely appreciate your being here. Thanks again for listening. Stay safe and be well.